Good afternoon, and thank you for being there for our first webinar in English. I've taken the opportunity of this Enlit Milan exhibition to present to our shareholders in English and to our customer also our proposal and how we see the future of Enertime and the energy business worldwide. Let's start with the electricity price. We believe that the price of electricity will remain high, meaning the average price of electricity will remain high, reflecting the notion of value more than cost, meaning that before everybody was speaking about cost, now we have to speak about values. If, for example, if you speak about long-term cost of producing electricity, you use LCOE most of the time in the past as a way to measure the benefit of different solution for the grid and for the customer. In fact, by using this type of valuation, we have lost the long-term value of electricity. Because in electricity today, because of the intermittent renewable energy production, time and location of production will matter more and more. And it's not so much about cost of production, but about value of a given production. That is the first point important to understand why the price of electricity has increased. The second reason is very clearly the carbon tax. The carbon tax was around 20 euro per ton of CO2 emitted end of last year. It is now around 60 euro. And each euro per ton of CO2 in addition will provide an additional cost of around 1 euro per megawatt hour for coal-fired power plant, 0.5 euro per megawatt hour for open-site gas turbine, around 0.35 euro per megawatt hour for gas combined cycle. This cost was not taken care of when cost of carbon tax was low. Now it's going to be higher. This cost impacts strongly the cost of electricity on the grid. The third reason is extraction of fossil fuel and transformation of fossil fuel into electricity is a dying business. It's a dying business, so this fuel will be expensive in the near future, because if you don't invest so much into such a project, you will not get enough, probably sometimes, of this gas and oil in the near years. The other reason is also that except for hydrogen fire power plant that should have a great future, traditional combined cycle and gas production of electricity will become scarcer. And this has already been seen for the last 10 years, where the existing combined cycle on the European grid found difficulties to maintain production because they were not dispatched enough to be economically viable. So as more and more gas and gas production facility will be scarce, so cost of gas production with gas should become at least stable. The fourth point is almost always related to storage. Everybody knows that intermittent electricity has to be stored, to be released when the sun is not shining or the wind is not blowing. We believe that excluding hydrogen, and because there is not so much of non-intermittent renewable energy capacity, it will be very difficult to store all this intermittent electricity from the good day to, or the good hours to the bad hours. So electricity price will be highly dependent on the time of the year and the time of the day when it is produced. A good example is a California duck curve. Maybe some of you knows about it. It was forecast in 2012 in California that the more you support solar electricity production on household or for self-consumption, the more you will decrease the need of electricity during this period. And if there is less need of electricity during this period between around 8 o'clock in the morning and 5 o'clock in the evening, the more the electricity during this period the price of the electricity during this period will have to go down to allow for everybody to be able to produce and dispatch its electricity, meaning that the more solar come into the grid, the less the less price of solar can be expected during this period, meaning that this period will be the period where electricity can be transformed into hydrogen, because this electricity will be dirty cheap. We will see certainly a big variation of the price of electricity between the day and the night. We are seeing that already on the European grid or in the Californian grid. It will be more and more. And what is interesting is that this forecasting in 2012 has been found to be even, I would say, optimistic, because if you see the reality is even more pronounced reduction of consumption at around 10, 12 or 1 o'clock during the day for a typical months of 2020. So we believe that saving electricity is a main issue. It's a main issue because the consumption of electricity in 30 years' time, for example, in France is expected to be around 50% higher than it is today. And at the same time, the projection is to try to reduce the global energy consumption by 40% in France. In Belgium, if you look at electricity only, it's expected that the production of electricity will have to double between now and 2050. So electricity is in need and will be scarce because of this very huge increase of electricity consumption. So we expect that the price of electricity will remain on average relatively high, with very significant difference of price between daily or night production and between summer and winter. And this difference of price will be fully related to intermittency, meaning that the more intermittent electricity you have on the grid, the more the price will vary between different times during the year. So what happened with energy efficiency, and especially energy efficiency for electricity? We have found that from 2014 to 2018, price of electricity was extremely high, and there were no real effort to try to save electricity. So we believe that electrical energy efficiency is a forgotten part of the energy transition. It was forgotten everywhere. We have been lucky in France to have this new pact law coming into force in 2019 that allows companies like us to suddenly get support for electrical energy efficiency. We believe that electrical energy efficiency will be all over Europe the main issue. And all the countries that do not put in place strong electrical energy efficiency support will have problem in 10, 15 years' time. They will have problem because whether it is in France, where the nuclear power plant or new nuclear power plant will take time to go on stream, even the new EPR of Flamanville that is expected for maybe 2030 23, 2024, it's not very clear. And even worse for the German and the Belgian nuclear power plant that will be dismantled very soon and will create a lack of electricity on the European grid. To be very clear, the world does not invested enough in dispatchable or mass storage capacity for electricity or in energy efficiency. We need to save massively and invest in storage. And this is what we believe will drive the business of Enertime in the coming years. Now, just to look at our storage of electricity, sorry, a few words are still in French, but I think you will understand the rest of the slide. Hydrogen is, for us, possibly the only long-term massive storage means for electricity. Why? Because electric batteries is not there to store electricity for further use. It's just there to regulate the grid. We are not going to be able to save massive amount of electricity for more than few hours during the day with traditional batteries. And the more you will have intermittent wind or solar energy, the more, even if the capacity of batteries increase, it will be just for arbitrage, meaning that you can move a little bit the time when you consume the electricity, but just few hours, or just to stabilize the grid. The other solution is pump storage power plant, and we do not believe that pump storage power plant can really increase capacity in Europe today in a significant manner. Pump storage power plant use a huge amount of land and flood huge amount of land when you have to create the upper reservoir and the reservoir. You may use some mine, you may use some existing hydroelectric power plant, but it will be difficult to really significantly increase the pump storage capacity in Europe. On the other side, there are hydroelectric power plants. This hydroelectric power plant can probably get better used to produce intermittent electricity to complement renewable or solar and wind. But this needs to be deregulated. Today, hydroelectric power plants are owned by traditional utilities, and these traditional utilities may not have incentive today to operate their hydroelectric power plant more on a storage basis than on cheap power production basis. Outside of hydroelectricity, and there are not so many electricity storage solutions available on the market, and we believe that there are some, like the Stolec technology that we are working in, but the impact of third storage capacity will be not good enough for massive storage of energy. So we do believe that today hydrogen is the best solution for massive storage of energy, but we have to recognize that the cycle efficiency will be low as of today, probably 20 to 25%, because you cannot recover so much heat produced when you produce hydrogen by electrolysis, and a hydrogen power plant will never have an efficiency higher than 50 to 60%. However, this 20 to 25% efficiency may not be a big deal if this hydrogen can be produced at a very competitive low-cost electricity price. And this low-cost electricity price will be only available during certain period of the year and certain period of the days. And it will have to be produced on a semi-decentralized solution because of the cost of transmission. because if you add a low price of electricity to high price of transmission, you will have a high price of electricity. So the future is clearly for hydrogen to be used to store intermittent energy, and it will have to be distributed on the grid. Intermittency is not affecting every country in the same way. If you look at France, intermittency is not a big deal today on the French grid. It's maybe an extreme case, but let's say beginning of the year in January, you see that if you compare the production of electricity using solar and wind and the production of electricity for the other use, you see that it's very minimal part of the electricity was produced with solar and wind. On a peak basis, maybe at the highest illumination time of a day, you have around in January, you may have something like less than 10% of the electricity produced with electricity from wind and solar, and we are only speaking about peak power. If you speak about kilowatt hour, it's even much less. Now, it's not the same at all for the German grid. If you look at the German grid, you see that, for example, during Eastern in 2020, during a certain period, a significant period, the electricity on the German grid was much more than the need of the German grid, meaning that there were around 12 gigawatt of electricity that had to be exported outside of the German grid to stabilize, to keep the grid running. These 12 gigawatt tomorrow will not be so easy to sell outside of Germany, because whether it will be in France or Denmark or Netherlands, or all these other countries, neighbor of Germany, will have the same issue with the high solar and a high wind power production, meaning that because everybody will produce a lot of electricity at the same time, there is an absolute need to store all this electricity on a massive basis, meaning with hydrogen. So today, everybody seems that there is no problem, because you can easily use existing power plant, fossil fuel power plant or nuclear power plant on a viable production basis. But this will not last. Sooner or later, we will have to either shut down solar and wind or store the electricity from solar or wind. And when we will do that, we will be able to produce hydrogen. So Enertime, few word on Enertime. Enertime is a relatively old company now. It's created in 2008, and we've been on the Paris Stock Exchange since 2016. We have recently decided on a strategic move to create an ESCO subsidiary named Energie Circulaire, in English, circular energy. This company is going to have a significant impact on the future of Enertime and the future of the energy efficiency worldwide. We are still spending a lot of R&D, and very recently, in fact, yesterday, we announced that we will go for a hydrogen compression technology, meaning that we have now 4 technologies to develop and sell on the market. It's the ORC-System, making electricity out of heat pump to produce high temperature heat with low temperature heat, gas expansion to recover the expansion, the energy of the expansion into the natural gas grid to produce electricity and cold. And lastly, the new technology, the new development, hydrogen compression, compressing hydrogen at very high pressure. We believe that as of today, the good way to store hydrogen is in very high pressure vessel. It may be, I mean, other solution exists. One of them is to produce methanol. It's a good way, and it captures CO2 also at the same time. The other way is to liquefy the hydrogen. We believe that this could be also a good option. However, maybe not for distributed generation on storage, because the storing hydrogen on a liquid form is complicated. Lastly, we are very export oriented, and we will try more and more to be as let's say, as aggressive on the international market as we are today on the French market. We are already established in China, in Ukraine, in Thailand, in Mexico, and we'd be very happy to entertain customers in 180 countries in the world. Lastly, we have been selected in 2019 as an European Growth Champion. Unfortunately, because of the very low price of energy that came in 2016, 2017, we have not been able to replicate this success in 2020 and 2021. But we are very confident for 2022 and more. So the waste, our main market is today to attack the waste heat recovery market in Europe and worldwide using our ORC technology. This waste heat market is relatively huge. You can see that only in Europe you have around 450 terawatt hour of waste heat per year above 100 degrees, and around 50 terawatt hour in France only. But this waste heat above 100 degrees is our target. And you see in Europe, we consider France, Germany, Italy, Spain, Poland, and UK as very good target for our ORC application. And outside Europe, Turkey. The ORC technology, in few words, I think it's organic Rankine cycle is the Rankine cycle, like the steam Rankine cycle of the thermal power plant, but instead of using water, we use refrigerant or hydrocarbon like alkane or CO2. In a closed loop cycle, producing electricity out of the expansion of a fluid, the vapor of fluid, whether it's steam in the steam cycle, but we don't deliver steam cycle, we only offer organic cycle, and where we use this mainly alkane. So turning waste heat into electricity is the right solution. It reduces the consumption of non-intermittent electricity by directly reducing the consumption of large industries. And non-intermittent CO2-free electricity is very difficult to produce. So each solution, any solution that can produce electricity, CO2-free electricity on a permanent basis has to be favored. And that's why ORC will be favored. Now, sometimes people consider that our solution is in conflict with district heating, recovering heat for district heating, or recovering heat to reuse for other plant near an existing energy-intensive plant. We don't believe that. We believe that it's the contrary. We believe that this technology, and we can demonstrate that this technology opened the door for the construction of more and more district heating system and help district heating system to succeed and get funded. Lastly, it was not our discourse last year when the price of electricity was significantly low. We now believe that the increase of the price of electricity on the grid is a very big signal that electricity need now to be saved in much bigger and significant scale, and we believe that ORC is there to make this happen. We do not believe that electricity price will come down in the near future, except, as I explained, during certain period of the day and of the year. We are very confident that on an average, our machine will be extremely competitive. Few words on our future. We had, as explained, few difficult years because of the low price of electricity on the grid. We expect that these few years are now in the past and will remain in the past forever, or maybe not forever, but for a long time. We believe on very strong growth in the coming years, 2022 and 2023, where all the projects we have in our pipeline will be delivered. Our company was in a negative, or had negative result in the past years because of the lack of turnover, not because our projects were not profitable. Each project was profitable, but we did not have enough order to reach the break-even level. This load, we expect to get it very soon. At least in 2023, our objective is to be profitable. One of the major move we have done in our, let's say in the last 2 years, and very strategic move that was decided before COVID-19 appeared, and has been implemented maybe with a little bit of more difficulties, but purely on time and ready to take up the challenge of the industry of the 21st century, which is energy efficiency. Energie Circulaire is a subsidiary we created 1.5 years ago. Energie Circulaire is an ESCO, energy service company. Energie Circulaire finance and operate the machine that Enertime built via a special purpose vehicle that are created to operate, to finance and operate our machine for 10 to 15 years, selling electricity to the host industrial customer, sometimes also some heat, and paying back our project on a 6-7 years basis. We are still very interested to find industrialists that will buy directly our machine, but if industrialists are not interested to have this kind of machine in their balance sheet and are not very confident in running the machine themselves, we can provide the service and sell cheap electricity to them, recycling their waste heat. So, a few words on ORC. There are different companies offering ORC, but we have focused ourselves on high power ORC. We believe that this is a market where we have some edge and where Enertime offering turnkey solution will be a leader on the worldwide market. We are not interested by all kind of heat and all kind of industries, and we now focus on very specific niche market that are, of course, global, including the binary geothermal. That is a very interesting market for us, working on existing geothermal plant to increase their efficiency with ORC, and a few energy-intensive business like steel, cement, glass, metal industry, chemical and petrochemical, but still wondering whether this industry is a very profitable market, but clearly diesel and gas engine and gas turbine. Other industries like paper or food is not a target for ORC and will never be, because most of the waste heat is not at the right temperature. ORC require relatively high temperature to be cost effective. Now, to compare our ORC with other solution, and of course, we do not look at solar everywhere or nuclear everywhere. We just look at where our ORC competes against solar or nuclear energy. And we can easily demonstrate that ORC are very cost effective compared to other type of electricity. And comparing ORC in waste heat recovery with solar or wind is not really, I would say, significant in the sense that ORC provide non-intermittent electricity, where solar and wind are intermittent electricity. But even considering this intermittent factor, ORC in the north of France, for example, are very competitive against this type of energy. So being low cost power production facility is clear on ORC side. There is another benefit that is never taken care of, because most of the large industries do not pay so much the transmission cost. But transmission could add around 15 euro per megawatt hour to the cost of electricity on a given industrial site. This is avoided, of course, if you produce on the very site where you need the electricity. Therefore, ORC is not only very competitive at production cost level, but it's very competitive even if you add the transmission. Now, when you will add this problem of variable cost, value cost and not production cost, as explained at the beginning of the presentation, we don't think it will change much on the average cost that we can get from our ORC. But it may be that during certain period of the day, our ORC will have to produce at 20 euro per megawatt hour like the rest of the grid. But outside of this very short period, the cost of production, the value of the electricity our ORC will produce will be much higher, giving an average of 70 euro per megawatt hour. This value of 70 euro is today's value. We expect the market to grow big. After 10 or 15 years, we accept that this price will go down tremendously, and we will be able to reach a much lower cost of production for ORC. Competition in large ORC is limited. We have today 3 competitors, and the real competitors we face in most of our projects is Turboden. But neither Turboden nor the other company, except maybe for Geothermal, Ormat, is offering their machine as a service. Enertime has decided to offer to make this ESCO offer one of their key strategic proposal for the industries, and we have seen this type of solution very much appreciated by the market. Just to speak about few words on what happened on the French market for the last, I would say, years. We have seen a lot of energy efficiency and decarbonization projects launched and supported by ADEME, that is the French Agency for Energy Efficiency. And out of these around 130, 140 projects, very few, in fact, were really on an ESCO type. Most of them were direct investment from the industrialists that receive subsidies to improve their process. Only around 12% were on an ESCO basis, and out of these 12%, only 2 technologies have been really promoted on this basis: the ORC and biomass heat. Biomass heat is one of the way to decarbonize the industry by producing heat out of combustion of biomass. This requires some strong knowledge of the biomass market. So that's why ESCO company have been very active on this. Otherwise, ORC is the other solution that was really deployed on an ESCO basis. Now, if you go down, if we remove the biomass project and we go only on energy efficiency and not on decarbonization, we see today a big part of the project are just heat recovery. Significant part is ORC, with around 14% of all the project are ORC. Out of these 14%, Enertime secure half of the project, or 7%, with meaning 3 projects. Out of the 3 other projects that were selected, one was for Engie Group, one for EDF Group, and one for Aeon. So we can clearly see that our offer is in line with what the market is expecting, and we are going to grow big as a provider of solution. We do not see today existing player on the ESCO market to be so strong on the ORC business, as strong as we are. So we are very confident that in the future, ORC will be, the ORC technology will spread all over Europe, and the good model is energy efficiency as a service. In few lines, these are the projects we are working on today. In France, 3 projects selected by ADEME for subsidies, 1 project already submitted, but remain to be decided whether ADEME has to tell us whether it will be selected or not. Basically, these 3 projects represent 22 million euro of investment, and the 4th project will add around 8 million euro of investment. Out of this 30 million euro of investment, Enertime expected to get around 25 to 26 million, up to 28 million euro order for 2022. The first example is this Verallia project in the north of Lyon. It's a glass factory. It's a container glass factory. We decided at the beginning to offer compressed air as a service to using waste heat, and now the project has changed to electricity production for the site. We expect to finalize the contract within a few months. It will reduce by 1 megawatt the consumption of the factory. A second project, much bigger, it's an arc furnace producing ferro alloy. It has 22 megawatt to be recovered in a boiler that will burn syngas generated by the arc furnace. We expect to install around 5 megawatt electricity production for an investment that will be around 2.5 million per megawatt. This type of application is quite interesting because of the size and the economic benefit of such a project, and we expect that all arc furnace in the future of this type will be equipped with ORC. A Zinc recycling oven in the north of France also. It's using a furnace to melt and recycle zinc for automotive scrap metal. We will install an ORC at the outlet of a catalytic oxidation system that destroy the volatile compound that you can find in such a scrap metal and cannot be released on the atmosphere as such. Catalytic oxidation system is an interesting process where we believe that ORC will have very big future. 1.7 megawatt of electricity to be produced with around the investment around 3.2 million euro. Now, a quick view on the market. First, the European market. We have tried to pin down the potential of ORC in the major energy-intensive business where we believe that there is a potential for ORC. And you can see here the different countries with the different type of capacity that could be installed. We see that Turkish market is the #1 market by far, and we are strongly focusing on the Turkish customer and offering to the continental glass, flat glass, cement, and steel industries in Turkey our solution. We work, of course, in France. We are now entering into Germany, Spain, and Italy to offer the same kind of services, and we'll be very happy to discuss with the UK and Polish customer that are the other target of the company. Just for the sake of duplicating this potential project, each figure represents 1 megawatt of ORC capacity. It's a theoretical potential, but just to see what could be the extent to the rest of the world, most probably we expect that worldwide there could be 4 or 5 times more of capacity than we have here on the European market. So we expect that the market for energy efficiency and ORC-based energy efficiency is huge. We are just starting to get the first, let's say, 100 megawatt or 200 megawatt, including what has already been installed by some of our competitors, and we see this market as strategic for us. Strategic because we offer it as a service, strategic because we offer turnkey solution and not only the ORC machine. The other market, of course, is geothermal. Geothermal energy is the mother of the market for ORC. This is where, especially Ormat, that is a very great and biggest manufacturer of ORC, has started really to expand, and we believe that geothermal will have a big future, and ORC in geothermal will have a big future. We are less focusing on this market today, waiting to grow bigger. When we will be bigger, this will be a very important market for us. Hydrogen. As explained at the beginning of the presentation, we believe that hydrogen will be a key to secure non-intermittent production of electricity worldwide and provide a CO2-free solution for the mobility. We believe that hydrogen will be produced by excess cheap green electricity using solar and wind potential, and low cost of electricity coming from the excess of electricity on the European grid, or very low cost of production in the southern part of Europe, or in Africa, or in country where there is a very high solar potential. We believe that this hydrogen has to be stored for at least a few hours, and it has to be stored also to use it on the mobility solution, trucks, plane, ship. Some other solution may be available, like producing methanol out of CO2 and hydrogen, or remanufacturing or reproducing natural gas using hydrogen and the CO2 of the atmosphere. But whatever solution is used, storage of hydrogen will be a big issue. So we have decided to develop a high pressure hydrogen compression solution, more focused today on the refueling station or decentralized hydrogen storage. We are now at the first phase of the development, using some support from our Paris region and the French Development Bank, BP France. And we expect to go for the second step very soon to produce hydrogen compression system that will allow to compress up to 700, 1,000 bars hydrogen produced everywhere on worldwide territory. We feel that, or we consider that there is a market for good solution that will fulfill the high capacity market, which is above 2 tons per day, or around 300 kilograms per hour. And we are focusing on this large compression capacity market. As explained before, we believe that hydrogen and energy efficiency and geothermal energy are very interlinked, and that our ambition to become a major electromechanical industrialist for the transition to a CO2-free energy requires that we are also active on the hydrogen market. So, few of the reasons why we have decided to launch this hydrogen compression development is, first, we feel that there are a lot of refilling station supplier in France or in Europe, but not so many compressor manufacturer. And we feel that we are plugging a gap because compression of hydrogen is one of the key issues on the future use of hydrogen. We believe that the existing technology do not meet the challenge for this huge development of hydrogen in worldwide, and we feel that new players have to step in. Compression, the technology of compression are already mature technologies, but hydrogen may need new solutions that are not necessarily offered by traditional compressor manufacturer. We believe also that for large station, there is a lack of supplier. There may be a lot of suppliers for a smaller scale solution, but not so much for large solution. We have a capacity to develop turbo machine and mechanical equipment for flammable or explosive condition, and we want to use this capacity to expand into this very promising, full of promise market. And as explained before, we believe that the future of energy is a combination of distributed power generation combined with hydrogen production, storage, and distribution. We believe that there will be a hydrogen production capacity all over Europe and the world, and all these capacity will need to store at least a portion of their production at a very high pressure, and all the distribution of this hydrogen to vehicles and all the mobility industry will require a storage at high pressure. So the economical challenge is in the mobility, for the mobility is to produce hydrogen at around 7 to 8 euro per kilogram at the pump for a full tank of a vehicle. If you compare with the cost of gray hydrogen produced with the cost of 2 euro per kilogram, you're of course at a much higher price. But if you compare with the cost of a full tank for diesel or gas, the price at that price, hydrogen is competitive. On the other side, we believe that the future of gray hydrogen is not very great. It's very much dependent on the price of gas and the carbon taxes, and therefore we feel that it's not necessary to reach the gray hydrogen production costs to have a solution for the future of the carbon-free economy. The other market we see as very promising is producing electricity with hydrogen on a dispatchable solution, meaning that developing power plants that run on hydrogen stored during and produced and stored when electricity is at low price, and releasing this energy when electricity is at a high price. In particular, we feel that all the manufacturers of gas turbine and gas engine are now working on shifting from natural gas to hydrogen, and we see that as a clear message also that hydrogen will be a good solution for producing non-intermittent electricity at the time when the grid will need it. And now, last but not least, what about Enertime and Enertime finance? As for people who follow us more clearly and probably speak French, because we have not been very good at communicating in English, we have today a convertible bonds line named ORC that remain valid until end of next year. This equity line is a very good solution for guaranteeing that we have always the capacity to move on. We do not want to use this line, and will make all necessary effort to avoid using it, but we see that as a very strong tools to show that we have the capacity to move on and capacity to finance our development. We may use this line or may not. We have today no reason to use it in the near future. On the Energie Circulaire side, we have contacted and contracted with an investment bank to find capital for Energie Circulaire and the SPV, and we expect that within a few months we will have built a complete financing scheme for Energie Circulaire and the SPV that Energie Circulaire is creating and developing to finance our ORC project. In particular, we have now infrastructure funds that are ready to finance our first SPV. We may decide, however, to finance this SPV ourselves if we find good financing to do that and create own the asset ourselves. We have some discussion with possible capital increase of Enertime, but feel that the value of the share are relatively low and merit that we limit the dilution as of today. But we are looking for a strategic and anchor investor that will accompany the company on the long term. We have today significant subsidy down payment received from ADEME that will allow us to develop fully this project, finance the project, at least the first step of the project, and advance, move on fast and without having to tap new money from investor or banks. And we have recently been awarded a loan from BPI France for 500k euro that will clearly also add to our financial good and healthy financial situation. And that's it for today. I think we feel that today that the time is right for Enertime to grow and succeed strongly on this new market, that the market for energy efficiency and geothermal energy, and for hydrogen production and storage. And we are very confident that in the coming years the company will thrive. We are very interested to exchange with the industries in all European countries and outside Europe to design tailor-made solution for energy efficiency in their factory, and participate to the transition to a CO2-free energy society that everybody, all of us, expect for our kids. If there is no question, I will now end this webinar. Feel free to look at it on a replay or transfer the replay to other people that you know would be interested. I will be happy to also receive any message from customer or potential investor on contact@enertime.com. Otherwise, I wish you a very happy day, and I thank one of our investors that is already a known investor to wish us good luck, and thank you very much, Mr. Pirali. All the best, and have a good day, and stay safe and be careful. Thank you. If there is no other news, I will disconnect. Thank you.